Hi, it's Dennis Daly. On my first trip to Europe, I was really lucky. I was able to hop over from London to Paris and go back in one morning and afternoon because of the new high-speed train that goes under the English Channel. It's called the Channel, the Channel Tunnel Train. Eurostar is the proper name. It hadn't been opened yet a year when I talked to Ian Brooks. He was, at the time, one of the directors of Eurostar and right proud of it.
Well, it's just over a year old, so it's very new. The trains themselves are gleaming blue and yellow, sparkling new trains. And, I mean, the big difference really is it doesn't feel like a train. First of all, when you're on board, you can't believe you're going so fast, and yet there's no movement, no rattling, incredibly quiet. And the other wonderful thing is that it's just so easy in terms of international departures. I mean, there's no worry about immigration and customs. That's all done on board. It's just like stepping on the London Underground, if you're familiar with that. You put your ticket in, and it comes out the other end, and you walk through, and you're on board the train. So it's so simple.
You know, it's a shame in a way, because there's always been this nice, interesting acrimony between the UK and France. You're so close. I mean, the channel is not that wide there. But before this, it would have taken, what, either an expensive airline flight or a combination of trains and ferry.
Yes, that's right. I mean, the nice thing about this is it's got the speed, the similar speed of going by air, because you can get from London to Paris in 3 hours. Which is similar to going by air when you include driving out from central London or taking the train out to Heathrow or Gatwick or Stansted, and then the hassle factor involved of checking in, etc. So the time is comparable with the plane. Of course, the prices are far more comparable with going on the ferry, which is obviously again, quite a hassle and time-consuming journey. So it's the best of both.
Well, I live in Washington, D.C., and our Amtrak advertises that it is quicker to go to New York on what we call the shuttle train, the Metroliner, and it is. When, as you say, you go from the center of the city to the center of the city, and you don't have to do the whole leave town, go to an airport and queue up. How long would that trip have taken by surface and ferry before the channel opened?
Well, you're probably looking at more than double the amount of time, because first of all you'd have to get a train down to Dover, and that obviously stops at many stops on the way, as opposed to the Eurostar, which is a direct service straight down to the tunnel. And then obviously you've got to unload, you've got to get off, you've got to board the ferry. The ferries takes over an hour to cross the channel, as opposed to 20 minutes on the train under the tunnel. And then you've got the same palaver again at the other end, getting back on to the French trains. So it's half the time by Eurostar. Well, the exciting concept about that is later on this year, you won't even have to connect. In fact, you'll be able to get what we call a regional Eurostar, which will come from the north of England and stop at points in the Midlands.
So these will be straight through trains?
These trains will go straight through. In fact, they won't even go via Waterloo. They will go the most direct route from the north and the Midlands, straight down to the Channel and under the tunnel. And so there's no connecting, there's no getting on and getting off. You board a train in either Edinburgh or Glasgow or Manchester, and you'll stay on it until you get in Paris.
You have different classes aboard?
We do. We have a first-class product, and we have a standard-class product.
What is the current price from London to Paris, round trip?
Well, there are obviously lots of different prices depending on what sort of ticket you like and when you wish to travel. Our most competitive price is currently £59, which is for midweek travel, and that's in standard class. And for those who like a bit of comfort, you can currently travel in first class for £220 round trip, and that's to both Paris and Brussels. Let's not forget that we also go to Brussels.
You know, one of the things that has amazed me walking around London, I'm used to Washington, D.C., which is a very cosmopolitan city. You seem to have more visitors from more different countries here. I'm sure it's the proximity to the continent. What has and will this short connection mean now, connecting you to the mainland?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic news for tourism. In any case, London and Paris are two of the most popular destinations for any tourists coming over. If you look on board the train at the moment, you will see a lot of North Americans, people from Canada and from the States. You'll also see a lot of Japanese. We intend to be aggressively selling and marketing this train in the States, in the Far East, in Australia, and in places as far as South Africa. So it will be a very multicultural train.
Obviously, when you're here in London, there's no problem. You come to Waterloo Station, you make arrangements to take the train. But what if you're listening in the States or some other part of the world? Check with your travel agent. What is the best way to find out about it?
Yes, the best way is probably to check with your travel agent. Failing that, you could contact British Rail International in the United States, or SNCF, which is French National Railways, or Eurorail in the States as well.
Now, this is my first time in Europe. Obviously, so first time in London. I would not have been making this day trip over to Paris under the old system. There wouldn't have been time. It would have been an extremely long day.
That's right. Actually, last Saturday, a bunch of us here from the office decided to go and have a fun day out in Paris. And we boarded a train at 10 to 8 in the morning, arrived in Paris before lunch, had a stroll around, had lunch in a fantastic restaurant in Paris, spent the afternoon doing a bit of shopping, walking down by the Seine, and boarded a train sort of 7 o'clock in the evening, and we're back here before midnight. So you can quite easily have a fun day in Paris.
What has been the reaction you've gotten from tourists? What has the feedback been like?
The feedback has been incredibly positive. First of all, people are surprised how easy it is to do. And I think the second thing is the comfort factor. Compared with travelling on the plane where you're bunched up, you haven't got a room. The great thing about the train is you can get up, you can walk around, you can go to the buffet carriage, you can stretch your legs. So people have been incredibly positive and just really said, I wish I'd known about it before.
Do I understand that there are plans to increase the rail speed on this side of the channel? Is that coming, and how much shorter will that make the trip when that's completed?
Yes, that is coming, although that's it will be another 6 years until that construction work is finished. It's a £3 billion construction project, so a lot of money going into that. But that will shorten the distance time to under 2.5 hours between London and Paris, and the same for Brussels.
I'm anxious to see how smooth the trip is, because our metro liner to New York runs at 120 miles an hour, but it's a bone shaker. I mean, you're absolutely sitting there oscillating in your chair. It's not the fun trip I thought it was going to be. So I'm anxious to see what this is like.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because this train actually goes 186 miles per hour, so it is faster. That's the speed that it does in France. Well, it'll be interesting to see your comments, but I'm pretty sure that you'll find that it's very comfortable. Whether you're English or whether you're American or whether you are French or German, everyone on board speaks English. Everyone on board speaks French as well. So yes, it's great. And we also plan to have some Japanese speakers on board too soon.
Now, I understand you have a good connection to Euro Disney in Paris.
We do. We have a one-stop connection at the moment to Euro Disney, so you can get there in under 4 hours. But from July of this year, we will be running direct trains every morning, direct to Disneyland Paris. So and it's a great fun day out.
One of the things I just thought of is, because you can do this in one quick day, it's going to afford an awful lot of schools on both sides the opportunity to bring students to either capital without having to overnight.
That's a very good point, because I think, as we all know, accommodation in London and Paris can be expensive, although there are places you can go to get a good deal. And as you rightly say, people will be afford to come just for the day. And the other good news is the trains carry just under 800 passengers, so we've got plenty of room on board, for big parties of students and universities and school children as well.
What's it feel like to be involved in this? I mean, it's such a new venture. You're getting in on the ground floor. You're watching it grow. Personally, what's it feel like?
It's very, very exciting. I think it's even more exciting for the people who are here who started planning it sort of 6-7 years ago. But for myself, who joined recently, it's very exciting. You're at the leading edge of transport.
Well, Ian, thank you. I'm anxious to see what the service is like, and I'll give you a report.
Thanks very much.
It was quite a trip over to Paris, almost like flying in an airplane. And the scenery whizzed by so quickly you couldn't see it. Eurostar. Great fun. I'm Dennis Daly.